Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on The Father Show. And I'm your host, Mike Thompson. Today, we have a great show for you this week, and I really want to get into that. But before we do, I want to tell you that if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our channel. Go to The Father Show with Mike Thompson and hit that notification bell while you're there. So that way, every week when we do a show, you'll be notified and you'll never miss one. And you don't want to. And also, if you are a man and you're looking for resources that can help you improve what you want to do, we have resources at thefathershowwithmikethompson.com. And there you click on resources and you will find resources national and statewide that can help with every situation that you may be going through, information you may need. But whatever it is, we're there to try to get the resources and the information for you. If you cannot find what you're looking for, please write us at thefathershow@gmail.com. And let me know what exactly are you looking for, and we'll do our best to find that for you. So don't go saying that you don't have the information that you need to be the best man that you want to be, because our goal here at the Father Show is to really let us be the best version of ourselves that we can be, not just for us, but also for our kids and for our family, for the kids in the neighborhood, because you are a mentor, whether you believe it or not, whether you know it or not. Everybody's watching you. And as a man, you need to step up and be the best that you can be. And that's what we want to do here. So today, without further ado, we have a young man that's coming on the show. And Jay Deitcher is a contributing writer, a former social worker, and a full-time stay-at-home dad from Albany, New York. His writing has appeared in the Washington Post, Esquire, The Cut, Chandelier, and The Lily. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, because I really want to dig into this and really get some information for you guys and for all of us. So let's welcome Jay. Jay, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank God. I was very moved by your intro. I
Oh,
was very
really?
moved by it.
No.
What?
Oh, really?
J- Yeah, just about the idea that you're always a mentor. There's always someone watching you, and I do love that you have all those resources on your website. I was really, it was really powerful to look at the vast amount of resources you were pointing people to, and the diversity of them, and just to hear you say that to email you personally and you will help someone out. That was very
Oh,
moving.
yeah. Well, thank you. But absolutely, I've been through a lot of stuff myself, and I've had friends that have gone through things, and they were like, "Man, where do I turn?" And as we know, there's a lot of resources for women, but there's very little resources for men, and the ones that are out there, we don't even know about. So I'm trying to eliminate that as much as I can and get all those resources in one spot. That way
Yeah.
you can find it whenever you need it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So you are one, you're a writer. And what do you normally write about?
I I don't. I guess I am kind of put in a box as a parenting writer sometimes, but I write about everything. A
Okay.
lot. I write about relationships. They're all just about human relationships. I would say
Hmm.
with my kids, with my wife, and like the main thing I think is that I'm like kind of a schmuck, but I'm not as much of a schmuck as I used to be. And so it's like, how can you improve yourself? Because
Right.
I'm still like, yeah, I'm a hot mess sometimes, but I'm less because I've grown over time.
Well,
So I think
and we
that's the
all
thing with most
are.
people.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
all are gonna grow. We all are. Pray to God. I'm 64, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, and I'm still trying to evolve into being the best of me. And that's what I want for other men. I want us to really just learn to keep striving to be better. We ain't nobody perfect, and we're not going to be perfect, but we can still be the best version of ourselves that we can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that you are writing. One thing about me, you'll learn that I don't like being in a box, and I don't like putting people in a box. So I don't want you to think that, oh, well, he's got to fit into this little square right here. No, no, because everybody's life is different. We all have gone through different things. We all have experienced different things, and those experiences have made us who we are today. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, and you are not just a writer, but you're a stay-at-home dad as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very blessed to be able to do both, even though it gets very stressful right now. But yeah, yeah, it's a
Yeah, because you
lot.
were telling me earlier, your kids are what, 3.5 and 1.5?
1.5, yeah, and my writing is really taking off. And my kids aren't in daycare because we're terrified of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. You
Yeah.
don't want to turn down projects. I do need the money. I avoiding debt, and then but it's like it's a lot. You have to also leverage your family's sanity. The more writing I take on, the more I drive my family nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
In what
lot. That's
way?
what I'm dealing with now. Hmm?
In what
Yeah.
way? It's just a time that you have to be away and concentrate on your writing?
No, my anxiety. I mean, I do have time. I'm confident that I can get the writing done, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very anxious person, and my own anxiety goes up
Okay.
when I have major projects going, and I don't know. Like last week, I crap. Like I think that this is very much about parenting, but last week I was trying to juggle all these interviews with people for an article while watching two kids, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the interviews I did didn't record because I
Oh,
was
yeah.
yeah, I turned the TV on. I was moving kids around while I'm interviewing this person, doing a very bad interview, but getting the information I needed, and then it didn't record. And I nearly broke down because it just feels like there's always a stress level on me to watch the kids do this right, and then write. And the writing's awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm doing it well. I'm doing the parenting well too, but I'm always like there are times where I'm about to crash.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and in this moment you caught me in with this interview, it's like my relationship is suffering right now.
Oh,
Like
really?
I'm not putting in the effort I need to with my wife. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing very good with the kids. They're my focus and my writing, but then mostly during the COVID when you're on top of each other, I feel like it's trying to find this balance of making
Right.
sure that it's very tough. It's very
It
tough.
is. It is very tough to find the balance so that you can put everything where you need to be and still do all that you have to do. And I just so you know, I understand how it is to be a not a stay-at-home dad, but I was a single dad for 11 years. And just kind of go back a little bit, my former wife did ask me once to be a stay-at-home dad, and I'm like, nope, nope, can't do it. No. Excuse me. I've always worked ever since I was 16, 15,
Yeah.
and the thought of being a stay-at-home dad just didn't sit right, with
Yeah.
me. But I understand what you're saying when you say you're trying to balance everything out and really, so you're not neglecting one thing or the other, or
Yeah.
one person or the other. It's a hard thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting past what you just my dad was entrepreneur. I worked at his store since I was 13,
Mm-hmm.
and like I've lied to people about my occupation as a stay-at-home dad because I felt like other men were going to judge me. And I
Yeah.
think that I keep my workload up also for my own confidence sake, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a sickness because sometimes my family need me to not take that work.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's a. I don't. And I would wish that a lot of people would not judge a man for being a stay at home, because I know there's a lot more than, say, in my generation. There's a lot of dads that are staying home and it benefits the kids. Uh, and the thing that I look at and I try to tell parents is when you're married, you become an entity yourself, your marriage, and you and your wife. So nobody should be telling you how to run your family. That's a discussion you and your wife should have. And, being a single dad, man, if somebody don't understand that you're a single dad and you're staying at home, that's their problem. You know, it doesn't have, it can't reflect on me, because as long as me and my family are okay, I
Yeah,
don't care what anybody else get to say.
yeah. It's powerful when you can get to that moment.
Yeah, it
But
is.
you do kind of have to get to that in parenting.
Yeah, you
A
do.
million different perspectives coming at you, telling you
Yeah,
you're
and
doing it wrong.
really your culture makes a difference as well.
Yeah,
I can say that, but you might be coming from a different culture, and your culture be like, no, that's not how we do things. And it goes back generation to generation to generation. But you still have to balance that out in some way. And I've always been one of those people. I never cared about what my parents said or my sisters said or anybody else said about who I date, what I do. And that's always been my choice. And I was just reading on a little real quick quote from Bo Jackson. And in a nutshell, I can't quote it verbatim, but in a nutshell, it says that the choices that you make in life is going to show you what your life is going to be about. And it really is your choice and you and your wife's choice. If you decide to stay home, if the two of you decide, hey, it'd be better for you to stay home, and whether somebody else agree with it, whether somebody else like it, that's okay. It's between you and your wife,
hmm,
and what benefits your family. That's
yeah,
who you're in charge of, is your family.
yeah.
So let me ask you, how did you and your wife come to that form that opinion that you should stay home and stay with the kids?
So honestly, I hate work, but I used to. So I was the guy who I went. So one, I'm a recovering drug addict also, and then I
Mm-hmm.
fell into social work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sober 16 years. I was working in social work for about 13
Congratulations.
years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. Um, and I was working in like a day treatment where everyone was abused. Like there was just so much violence surrounding me, and I got to the point where I didn't think I could quit, um, because I thought that I was so bad at my job that I couldn't help the violence. I was kind of stuck there, and so my wife said I had to quit that job. And then I did take. I was working on the side social working out of my car, and not like for an agency, but not dealing with the major drama that goes on in the overall agency. I was mainly like a street social worker, and
Mm-hmm.
I liked that more. But when we had the kids, it was like, one, I make less money than you. You can make way more money than I do, and I really wanted to stay home with the kids. It was very important to me to have this opportunity and to form these bonds with my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm very privileged to have this. Like my family is privileged to be a stay at home dad is a
Mm-hmm.
privilege,
Mm-hmm.
because economically we can afford this,
Mm-hmm.
and now my side hustle is bringing in more money,
Okay.
which is also a blessing. So yeah, things that I'm just very lucky to have
Yeah.
this opportunity.
Well, and we were really going to be talking about bonding, so let's kind of dig into that because I know your time is short.
Yeah,
When should a father start bonding with his child?
I mean, when the baby comes out, I didn't do much of the coochie coo. I'm gonna touch your belly thing,
Mm-hmm.
but like the moment the baby came out, I was there though. Like the baby knows your voice if you're around,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in the mama's belly. Um, so like yeah, don't like be a good dude then too. um, treat mama well, and
Mm-hmm.
then when the baby comes out, you make skin to skin contact. You put them right on your chest, and then you right there, you got the spark. Yeah,
And
you
how,
keep just being there.
yeah, how important is that to a child?
I mean, men don't have ways to bond that women do a lot of times because we one don't give birth to the kid,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't if a mom chooses to breastfeed, we can't breastfeed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but we can. There's other ways men can bond, and one way is the skin to skin, which is really important at the beginning. Just
Yeah.
you want that baby to know your scent. I feel like that's just such a magical thing.
Yeah.
Have the baby sleeping on you. I want. For me, there was a bit of a competition between me and the mom. The mom said to me, my wife Antoinette said to
Mm-hmm.
me, "You can never have the bond that I can have with this baby." And right
But you,
there, I think I was
well, I was
sorry.
just gonna say, a lot of women believe that, but that's
Yeah,
not true. I mean,
it's not true.
yeah, they definitely going to have a bond with their child. Like you
Yeah,
mentioned, they get to hear the mom's voice more than your voice when they're in the stomach. They generally, when the baby comes out, they come out and they put it on the mom's chest. So she's going to have the
yeah.
first skin to skin contact. Then, as you mentioned, if she breastfeeds, that's another way of bond. But I would say, like for fathers, and I was kind of like you. I love bonding with my kids. I really
Yeah.
do. But I think if there are feeding out of a bottle, whether it's breast milk or a formula, that's a great time for you as a father to bond with your child.
Do it.
Yeah.
So my son and I have destroyed that myth of men not being able to bond with babies. Okay, like I have earned this bond with my kids. I love it. My son is my shadow. It's beautiful, and but he did not latch, and it was very tough on my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because of that, I had to finger feed him through a tube
Hmm.
on my finger, put it in his mouth, and sit there for the longest time. For weeks, I did this because there was still
Wow.
hope that he was going to latch. And I guess if you put the bottle in the mouth, it lowers the chance of them
Mm-hmm.
latching to the
Right.
breast. But the finger was a more natural way. And I think right then, like I was the one feeding him. I'm not saying wish this upon your wife if she wants to breastfeed, but she was pumping, so she was doing a crap
Mm-hmm.
ton of work to make
Mm-hmm.
this milk. Um, but like that was a magical thing that happened to me. And if you have definitely feed your kids. There's a huge. I mean, you go to a family event, your mom is feeding everyone there, and that's how bonds are made.
Yeah.
Um, it's how culture's taught. It's how everything's taught, and people connect through that. So yeah, feed your baby.
Yeah. I used to every night I would give my son his last bottle and I had a rocking chair in there. So my time with him was rocking him to sleep and feeding him in his last bottle. And it really broke my heart when I had to stop because he's like, Dad, that's it. I can go to bed by myself. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
shoot. And
yeah,
I really hated it. It broke my heart. But, it was our time to spend and just, like you said, bond with each other.
yeah. I worry about those moments and how I'll handle them.
Yeah, it's all of it is hard. I mean, it's as a parent we get so attached. My son, like I said, I was a single dad for 11 years from the time he was 5 and until let's see, 16 before I married my wife currently, and it was just him and I. For the most part, I did have custody of my daughter, and so I had her too, and that's another story that we don't have time for. But but to have the bond that him and I have, we did a lot of things together, and to not have that anymore. Anytime a kid says, "You know what, Dad, I'm good," I see you. And when they turn teenagers, you can expect that because they're going to
Yeah,
start going off and being with their friends and doing other things. And it does kind of take you back and say, wow, I kind of missed that. I wish we had more time. But you just have to find new ways to bond with them.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you have a way or an idea how a father can bond with a child? Say they have not, say they just found out that that child was theirs, and now the child is, say, 7 years old, eight, and you are now coming in as the father. And do you have any ideas on how they can bond in that situation?
I mean, I'm not in that situation.
Yeah,
I would, I mean, as a social worker who's worked with kids at all ages, um, figure out what the heck they like and just do it.
yeah,
Don't complain about it, I guess. Find
yeah.
their interest and roll with that. Yeah,
Yeah, because would you say it's better to, like you just mentioned, find out what they like? It's not about what you like. Find out
yeah,
what they like, and that's what you
yeah,
do.
yeah, exactly. And that can be tough, but yeah,
It is. It is.
yeah,
You know, I had a good friend of mine that he was an NFL football player, and for him to bond with his child and actually my daughter, he let them put makeup on them and curlers
yeah,
in the hair, and it was like, dude,
yeah.
no.
That's it's beautiful. That's great.
It really was.
Yeah,
And I used to tease him because he knew how to braid his daughter's hair. And I said, man, you can't let everybody know you know how to braid your daughter's hair. But it was really an honor for him to do that. And
yeah,
it didn't bother him a bit. As big as he was, it didn't bother him a bit. And his daughter and him were like this. They were tight.
yeah, yeah. I like the word honor you said. We are generations of men haven't been had these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's beautiful.
It is. To bond with your child, to spend more time with your child. And I like that your generation of men, more of you are bonding and staying with your kids, spending more time with your kid, even if you work outside the home.
Yeah,
You have learned that that is important to your child and to your family. So I really applaud you guys for doing that.
yeah, yeah. Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because
I mean, I
my.
don't think my dad worked 60 hours a week,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to.
Mm-hmm.
Things
Yeah,
were
he had
different.
his
My
own
mom
business.
wasn't. He had his own business. I mean, that's no shame on him either.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, whatever works.
Yeah,
Whatever
and my
works.
dad was in the military, and so
Yeah,
he wasn't home a lot. So, but when he was home, he had his bonding time with us, and it's
yeah,
something as a kid, excuse me, and as a grown man, I never forget. I will never forget the time that he would spend with us whenever he was home, which wasn't often, but whenever he was, I got some fond memories of him.
yeah. Make the time count.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell some fathers, uh, just real quick, other ways that they can learn to bond with their kids.
So you brought up just being the sort of the last thing that they're with at the end of the day. So I'm a co-sleeper. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on what I do, and on even I don't want to judge anyone for anything. And I mean, even bringing up breastfeeding can be opinionated. That's an opinionated topic. Co-sleeping is an opinionated topic. I really value co-sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the idea that my son, I co-sleep with my son, is next to me at night, falling asleep to my heartbeat. Like I think that's so amazing. And my wife is pro the cry it out method, where you teach the kids to go to sleep by like leaving them in their
Mm-hmm.
crib.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not, but I'm not of that method. To me, it's just so important to be there
Yeah.
with them. But it sounds like you really were able to spark that yourself by being the last feeding of the night. That sounded awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had a rocking chair in there, and I would just rock and feed them, and then put them to
Yeah.
bed. And I'm kind of like your wife in a sense. I don't mind the cry, but thank goodness my son wasn't that way. I mean, you rock
Yeah.
him, put him to sleep, psh, and boy said, "Okay, good night."
Yeah.
He was a
Yeah.
great kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my kid will cry for an hour, but he's still a great kid. But
Oh, let me tell
if I
you,
leave the room,
my daughter, just the opposite. You put her to
yeah,
bed, next thing you know, she's coming back in the room. Daddy, daddy, daddy.
yeah,
Girl, if you don't go to bed, okay. And she'll go to bed about 5 minutes later. Daddy, but daddy, but daddy. I'm like, all right.
yeah,
She drove me nuts.
yeah. Most I, I most of parenting is patience. That's
Hmm.
and being privileged to have the time to have patience.
And wouldn't you say parenting also is learning and adapting? Because one child is going to be one way and another child be something altogether different.
They are all different, but to be honest, the second one's so much easier. Like I don't. The first one, I was freaking out about everything, and like I've worked with kids for years, and I was freaking out about every little thing. And then the second one, she's different, but it's way easier.
Yeah.
It's just way easier. I can juggle so much more now. I have confidence in myself.
Well, good. And
Yeah,
that's the thing. I think building that confidence and building that bond, like you mentioned earlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so it's scary. I think for a lot of men, probably it's really scary to like be left alone with a baby if you've never been taught to do that.
True.
Uh, but I think it's also important to realize that a lot of women have not learned how to do
You
that
took
either.
you took the words right out of my mouth because I was going to
Yeah,
say, yeah, it's scary for men, but I know a lot of women that are scared to death about
yeah,
being a mother.
yeah. It's scary. You have to. The becoming a first time parent. The first time is especially the scariest. You don't know what you're
Yeah.
doing, then you realize that the kids are pretty durable.
Yeah.
You go with it.
And
But yeah, at the
adaptable.
beginning, it's
Yeah.
scary for men and women.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff I write about, I write it from a male perspective, but I know women are going through similar stuff also. Like
Hmm.
I talk about going to play groups as a guy and how that was for me. And it's all true. There was like, I was outed at like an outsider at points, but a
Hmm.
lot of women feel like outsider in some of these situations
Hmm.
also.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true. But I'm glad you write in a men's perspective because there's not a lot of that out there. So it is great that a man can have a way to and a place to turn to learn and to educate themselves. And unfortunately, that's going to be our time for today. But
Yeah.
on that note, I really want you to tell the audience where they can read like that information that you're writing in a male's perspective, how they can get in touch with you if you so choose. But how can they find you and your writing?
So down here there was the word Jay Deitcher. If you go to there we go, JayDeitcher.com. That's my website where I have all my work. And I'm pretty sure I didn't look it up. I don't care for Twitter too much, but I think my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle is at Jay Deitcher, spelled that way. JayDeitcher. Or just search for Jay Deitcher and my work will pop up. There's no one else named my name.
You got a point because I found that
Yeah.
out myself.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, man, I really want to thank you for taking the time out and being on the show. I know you got some things to do, so we're going to really keep it at a tight today so that you can get out there and do what you got to do. I want you and your wife to have the time that you guys need
Yeah.
to keep that bond together. So I thank you once again for being on the show. And whenever you want to come back, please just let me know. Love to have you to come back and we can talk some more.
I'm so honored, Mike. Thank you.
All right. Well, ladies, let me change that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. And I really want to thank Jay for being a part of the show and coming on because it is great to be a stay-at-home dad, too. You know, he's got some young kids, 3.5 and 1.5. And I know that's a challenging time because I do remember it well. But I'm glad that he's also writing in a male's perspective so that the things that he has experienced, you can learn from so you don't have to experience the same thing, or you could be able to understand what you're going through at that time. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell, and that way you'll always be notified of what we're doing and the next show that we have. And we try to put one up every week. And really, don't forget, tell somebody else about the show. This show is about and for men, and we want us to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. That's what the show is all about, and that's what I try to bring guests on to let us know how we can improve in whatever area that we may need or get at the information that we need. So thank you for joining us. I would love to see you again next week. Until then, you guys be blessed, and I will see you then next week.